Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This video is about a new feature I'm adding into LiveStacker, which is the Webcaster. So what this will enable you to do is to in real time broadcast stacked images to any connected web browsers, be they on computers or notepads or phones. Providing they've got a web browser, this should work. So it's quite easy to use, so it should be useful for star parties, or if you have a group of friends around and they're interested in what you're imaging, rather than all crowding around a laptop screen, potentially, you can send the images straight to their devices and they can look at them. So how does it work? So there's a new button here, this broadcast icon. If you click it, you get this pop-up. What you do is you enter information at the top, so give the webcaster a title, my observing session, or in my case my webcast. You can put a couple of logos in. I'm just putting my local astronomy club's logo in at the moment, but you can leave that blank or fill it in as you like. By default, I'm going to use port 8080, which should work, I think, for most people. If you are already using that for something else, then you can just change it to something that you want. And you can throttle updates. So if you've got a lot of people connected, for instance, potentially be using up a lot of your Wi-Fi bandwidth. So you can, if needs be, throttle it. I'm not going to throttle it for purposes of this. So you need Wi-Fi in order for this to work. You don't need the internet. So basically, whichever device, whichever Wi-Fi network your LiveStacker is running on, you'll need your devices that you wish to connect to be on the same Wi-Fi. So assuming that's okay, then you might just need some permissions to be sorted out, etc. On Linux, you don't really need to do anything, but I suspect on platforms like Windows, there'll probably be some security pop-ups to be clicked through. But anyway, you start the webcast, and if it works, you'll get this QR code. If it doesn't work, you won't get a QR code. So with a QR code, I'm just going to point my iPhone's camera at it and start up the web page. So you can either use the QR code in the camera, or you can just type the local web address, the IP address, into the URL of the browser. Obviously, using a QR code is probably easier for folks. And that's it. Obviously, to stop the webcast, you just stop it, but we'll just leave it running now. And then what we'll do is we'll just start up. So when there's an image produced by the LiveStacker, it will send it to any connected client, so in this case my iPhone, and it should, fingers crossed, pop up on the iPhone screen. Drum roll. Okay, and there it is. So you can have as many devices connected as you want. On the screen, what you get is the top item is the current stack in progress, which is marked as live now, and then there's a gallery. In this case, there's just one picture in the gallery, which is the M42, the current one. But in principle, if you, over the course of the evening, go to many targets, you get a history of the gallery of images that you've taken. So if I, for instance, stop the live processing and move on to a different target, let's say M3, and start that off, then you'll still get the M42 item in the gallery, but obviously now it's stacking M3, so we're waiting for the first image of M3 to come through, and then when it does, that will automatically update, which it has done. You can put this into night mode, which will just make it, it's quite red anyway, but it'll make it just, was actually in night mode. It'll make things a little darker if you turn night mode on, and it will tend to make things a bit redder as well. So you can obviously preserve your night vision if that's important for you. The other thing you can do is, if I click on one of the images, it'll take you to a sort of a dashboard of that image, and this head-up display just gives you some information about the image. So what is it? In this case, it's a globular cluster. Gives you a couple of identifiers, and you can see, how much, or in this case 180 second subs have been stacked. So as as that gets updated, you'll see an updated image, and you'll see some updated information. So that's broadly it. Given that you're in a browser, you can do whatever the browser supports. So if I long click this, for instance, I could download the file, or I can save it to my photos, my camera roll. That's just obviously functionality that your browser has. So whatever browser you have, you'll have more or less functionality there. The one other thing is you can, and what I'd probably recommend on iPhones, that the iPhone likes to keep lots of real estate open for things like the URL bar and various functions that are kind of useful, but if you want to stay on this app for a long time, they're just using up some of the screen real estate. So you can basically just add this as an app, and then if you run it as an app, you don't get all the screen decoration that you get in the web browser. So it's slightly more user friendly, but essentially it's the same functionality. So I'm developing this at the moment. So obviously any ideas, etc., let me know.